Sure.
What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And holy cow, we have a guest with us today. He's been with us before, but since he's been on the show, he's made a major change in talking about living a life of freedom. We'll give you a little peek into his life here in a second, where he's broadcasting from, because it's pretty freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about mindset. So if you're looking to take not only your career to another level, your mindset to another level, but you're looking for an interesting avenue for how to live a life of freedom using your real estate skills, and you think you're tied down to wherever you're at right now, think again. So this is going to be a really, really awesome conversation. We've got Jeff Coates back with us today, broadcasting from Belize. We'll bring him in a second. First of all, the junior grandmaster himself, not broadcasting from bright and sunny Belize. He's in the co-pilot seat. He's freezing his co-pilot seat off. Greg McDaniel.
I'm freezing my chestnuts off over here. Mm-hmm. You know, to stay in the holiday theme.
Why are your chestnuts not roasting beside an open fire? I don't understand. Are you not allowed to have open flames in your condo complex?
I want to keep my nuts exactly where they are. Thank you. They're very comfortable. I'm super excited. Yeah, Jeff showed us kind of what he's looking at as he is broadcasting today, which, like Matt said, I'm insanely jealous of this man right now, because it's like 80 degrees. He's going to go take that later. He's going to go do drone footage of like multi-million-dollar homes. The man is living the dream that we all wish we could live, but I'm glad to have him back on the show. And we got the Evil Bald Ninja, who I asked him if what kind of tech tip he has for the day. His response was, Gene, what was your response of what you have for us today?
I ain't got shit.
And that's the Merry Christmas spirit from him to all of you. But I'm glad that we're all here, guys. Jeff, welcome back again, my friend. I cannot wait to talk more about the book and everything else you got going on down in beautiful, sunny, hot Belize.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Greg. I look forward to talking to it, too. And it's always cool to hang out with you guys, watching your guys' shows, and the content you guys give is amazing. I love it.
Thanks, man. I know. I work hard at it. Matt kind of just shows up, but I really put my effort in.
Thanks for that. Love you too, buddy. Oh, man. All right. So Jeff, catch us up. You've got your book that's either coming out or it just came out or something like that. Like, when's the official release date?
Right. It's already been out. It came out a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. I'm kind of slow here. I'm getting the word out.
Yeah.
Kind of that's what happens when you sleep in a hammock a lot.
Do you really? Is that a thing? Is that a thing in Belize? You sleep outside in a hammock?
I have slept outside multiple times in my hammock, and then I have a really cool spot where I can lay in the hammock and I can just look up at the stars, and the moon is out. I don't have a lot of bugs or nothing, and sometimes it's just the best way to fall out, man. But yes, hammocks are very common here in Belize.
God. And the last time we talked with you, you were in the Pac Northwest. Where were you based at?
Seattle. I was in Seattle then. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were coaching. You were doing ISA work and coaching ISA teams and things like that for real estate teams. You got a really deep background, and now you're with KW Belize. Just curious, what's the experience been just selling real estate in a foreign country, coming from where you come from?
Man, it's still a journey that I'm on and still learning. I've only been here a few months, but it's a lot different than what you're used to in the States. There's no MLS here. Everything is really on the agent. The agent has to have their own website. If you want to go get a sign put up, you got to go dig that hole yourself. You're out there with your post hole digger, putting the sign out. Like, you're uploading good photos, and you have to have, like, everything is just really on the agent. It's not anything that you're used to in the States. And the paperwork is really interesting because the government is very involved in the paperwork part, but it can be very slow. So to get a title to a property can be difficult sometimes because the process just takes a lot of time. And
gotcha.
And there's leased land here also. So when you go to try to purchase a property, you got to make sure that the land isn't leased, because technically you're not supposed to be selling land that's leased with the government. You have to own the land first before you can sell it. And so some people try to sell that lease to other people, and that can become a complicated transaction for foreigners. And so you really got to know the details of what's going on when you're here. sometimes I
So
see
how are you? I was going to say, how are you learning? If there's definitely some intricacies that are unique. So do you just get around other agents? Do you get around the broker? Who do you go to for resources?
Yeah, when you Google real estate in Belize, you come across Macarena Rose. She's been on House Hunters International like 8 times or something on HGTV. She's like my go-to right-hand person here in Belize. She's had my back. There's a great team of agents here. Marilyn, Lupita, Jenny, Jimmy Lou, like all these guys, Richard Lopez, like each one of them brings a different side of real estate here, who just have my back, and they're willing to teach me everything. So hand in hand, I would say Macarena Rose has been by far the biggest asset. Partnering with her, she's the operating principal here, but she's also an agent, and she also has a team. And her having a team and me having a team in the past, we can relate and communicate really well with each other as far as learning and teaching. Not just her teaching me, but me also helping teach her and what she's got going on. It's a great partnership, and without her, this would be very difficult to have accomplished.
Yeah, I'd imagine. That's awesome, man. Very, very cool. So you're about 3 or 4 months into this journey, so to see how it progresses over the next couple of years, and how long you end up staying, or if you stay and never come back, which either way is pretty awesome. Belize is pretty amazing. So we've got stuff to talk about with the book. We're going to talk about mindset and how to change your mindset so you change your life. So we've got a bunch of interesting things to get into, but let's revisit some of the background for us, right? So some of the reason that the book came to be, we dipped into this a little bit on your story on the last one. So for more detail, people can listen to your first episode with us, but just catch us up for those that may have missed. Give us kind of the little couple-minute overview of how the book came to be and what your background is.
Couple minutes? All right.
Well, yeah, just a few, 20, 30, maybe 45.
Yeah. So, well, I went to prison when I was 14 years old. I did 17 years in prison in the adult prison system in Washington State for a crime that I committed there when I was a kid. While I was in prison, I studied real estate, I studied mindset, I studied attitude, like all these different kind of self-help things. And then I started trying to teach others, because a lot of the books that I was reading at the time was like telling me, if you want to put any of this stuff into practice, the best thing to do is to teach it so that you can put it into practice. So that's what I started to do. Started teaching people about real estate before I had ever sold real estate. Started teaching people about, changing their mindset while I was inside. And then I got released. I joined a mortgage company because I didn't really understand the financing of real estate right away. After I was a part of the mortgage company, another mortgage company recruited me. I wound up getting laid off because their production was low, because I was in the IT section of the mortgage company. And then one of my friends said, "Man, you've been studying real estate so long. Why don't you get your real estate license?" One thing about the mortgage company is I actually took the tests to be a loan officer and passed the state and national test, but the capital denied my license because I had the felony. There's a national law that says if you have a felony that you can't be a loan officer. So I wound up saying, "Man, you know what? You're right. Let me get into real estate." But I called the capital first and was like, "Look, I don't want to spend all this money testing, right, and then you guys deny my license. So can I get the license?" And so they said, unofficially, "Yes, send us all your paperwork and we'll evaluate it." I said, "All right, cool." Took the test, ended up passing. In that journey, I became friends with Ben Kenny. Didn't know who he was at the time. Told him, "Hey, man, I just passed my real estate test." He said, "Fly to Texas." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, just fly to Texas, like right now?" He's like, "Yeah, this week, fly to Texas. We're having this big event, and I'll meet you there." And I'm like, "All right, I'll figure it out." So I wound up using the last money I had to fly to Texas, and my phone died on the plane. Like I just said, I was in prison a long time, so I'd never even been on a plane before. This was my first time, and I fly to this state I've never been to. My phone dies, and I'm like, "I'll just leave it in the hotel, and I'll find Ben at this place. I'm sure it should be easy to find." Go to the convention center. It's actually Mega Camp that I'm going to at the time.
Oh, cow. Okay.
And I walk into this convention center, and there's like 20,000 agents. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so screwed, man. Where has this guy been? This is crazy." like 3 minutes, no joke, standing in the back trying to figure out what I was going to do. He comes out on the stage to talk to everybody.
Mhm.
And I'm like, who is this guy, Ben? What the heck is this? Like, I've been to his house, I've talked to him. I never knew anything about like who he was as far as in real estate goes. So I said, well, I guess I found him. I'll just sit back here, you know. So, wound up watching him doing the mega camp thing. Didn't really know what it was about. Learned some stuff about real estate. Flew back, met back up with them. And he asked me to join his team, got on his team, worked on his team for about a year, wound up talking to a good friend of mine in Philadelphia. I was doing motivational talks, and I went and talked somewhere, and one of my friends said, you know, you have a legendary story, and you're underneath this legend. You need to kind of branch out because you are going to have an amazing life. And so if you're always working for somebody else, you know, it just isn't going to be the best you, basically. And so I thought about that. I went back, left this team, and started my own team. Went through a crazy journey on my team. Sold a lot of houses. To me, I sold a lot of houses, 36 or 37 houses in 9 months with a small little team. And then was about to grow my team into Hawaii, and some life events happened that kind of got out of a relationship and went through some tough times. Wound up kind of rethinking if I was going to build my team in Hawaii, and wound up going to Indonesia to kind of reset myself. And when I got on a plane, everybody in my life has said, you need to write a book, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And I was like, man, nobody wants to read a book about my life. I went to prison. I was 14, whatever, you know, like, and I'm out here doing normal things. I'm not doing anything extraordinary that anyone else can't do. So I never thought like, let's write a book about my life. It didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was on that plane, I was like, man, I'm going through the second hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life, I feel. And how am I going to get out of it? And I was like, I'm going to write a book about how I'm going to get out of it. I'm going to write a book on how I've lived my life and accomplished major goals through roughest times, and I'm going to get out of this. But first, I need to get out of this situation I'm in,
right?
So that I can write the book, so that I know that it works. And so through my journey of self-reflection and resetting my own mindset again, out here in freedom, I realized that this is something that everybody goes through at multiple times in their life, and that not only that, but anybody can do it. And there's 8 principles. If you follow them and you stay dedicated to them, you can accomplish your highest goals no matter what. And I know that it can be true because I've gone from poverty to catching rainwater to living in a shack to going to prison to getting out and having every job that I've applied for, not been turned down for a job, living like amazing things. And then in the book, I've interviewed several people that have had amazing life journeys themselves and have accomplished amazing goals themselves too. And so it just tells me that I know that these things are true because they've worked for me. They work for other people. In each interview that I did, I went through the 8 dedicated 8, and it's true for all of them. And if you analyze each principle yourself, you'll say, man, I went through that. I've done that. I've gone through that. I know about that. And I reached out to some of my closest friends over the years, David Osborne, Hal Elrod, Pat Hyben. Like I reached out to them and said, hey, check out this book, and can you tell me what you think? And amazingly, each one of them did a review for the book, on the back of the book. And
that's fantastic.
And what's even really cool is my very first book. I was in prison, and I was like, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not an artist, I don't have like these skills that everybody kind of has. Like I'm not a plumber,
right.
I'm a sales. I don't even like sales guy. I'm a hustler, man. Like in the positive way. Like I can get things done, And so I went to the library and I was like, what am I going to do with this? What can I do? And I picked up a book by Robert Shemin. And I was like, if this book is good, I'll read all this guy's books. And then I'll apply it to my life. And I picked up the book. I read one of his books. And I was like, all right, this was a good book. It was like a book on how to make money in real estate or something. I go back there's a title catalog where you can look up an author and it'll tell you all his books. So I go pick up the title catalog, I open it up. This guy wrote like 15 books. I'm like, shit. I gotta read 15 books. Oh, man. Anyway, Robert Sheeman gave a review for my book. How cool is
that's
that?
awesome.
That book changed my life. Picking up his book in 2002 or something put me on the path that I'm on now. And this guy did an awesome review for my book. So that's kind of the long, short version.
Yeah, well, and hopefully people that, that your book now will have that same positive impact on somebody else, which is what we hope will happen to a lot of people. So let's talk about the first couple of elements of the dedicated 8. So take me back. It's interesting. You're basically sitting in prison, and you realize that you have to change your mindset, right? You have to accept and cope with what's happened to you and kind of where you're at. And physically, you don't have any control of where you're at. You can't get up and walk away. You absolutely have to deal with it. But even there, you have a choice, and you can kind of blame everybody. You can lash out. You can do a lot of things mentally, even though you can't get up and physically get out of the situation. But you can kind of wallow, and I'm sure you saw a lot of guys that did, but you chose to go a different way. So let's talk about that, because that's where a lot of people get stuck, is when something bad happens, they wallow and they tend to get stuck there. So how did you kind of get unstuck?
Yeah, there's, looking back, it's not like when I was in prison, I was like, oh, this is the step to get out of this situation. But now that I've written this book and analyzed everything that I've done when I was incarcerated, and even out here, like changing a job, if you're trying to change schools, you're trying to change your life, you're trying to get out of a relationship, the first thing that you really have to do is you have to accept. First you're going to have what I call like an aha moment. That's what happens first. You want to change. You want to change. You want to do something different with your life. You want something to happen differently than what you're currently going through. So that's what I call like the aha moment. But the very first thing, to answer your question, was acceptance. You have to accept your situation. Like you said, I had no choice, right? I'm stuck in this place. I'm where I'm at. Some people might be stuck in their job because they got 2 kids or whatever. Some people might be stuck in a relationship because they're very codependent or something is going on there. The first thing you have to do is accept the situation and understand that you're in that type of situation. You're in a situation you don't control, or maybe you're in a situation that you do control, but you don't know how to control it. But you have to analyze that situation for yourself and then accept that situation so that you know how to start taking the steps to change it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does, because it's one of those things where, and Greg, pipe in here, but I think we do engage in a little bit more denial. We know that that's kind of the cycle of grieving or whatever. Like what is that? The first step is always denial. But the same thing happens to us. That's not just for grief of losing someone that we love. That's also grief that, like, we go through those similar cycles when just bad things happen to us, regardless of what they are. There could be a downturn in the business. It could be the market shifting, and we have to adapt. It could be a lot of things, but we go through those same kind of stages, and it is easy to get stuck in that for too long. And I mean, usually we're forced to get out of it. We're forced to accept it at some point. But if we can do it faster, then we can get out of it faster and we can adjust. And I think we're all going to be put in those situations. They may not be as extreme, Jeff, as you did, but we're all put in those situations where bad things happen or things shift, and all of a sudden we have to, the faster we can accept it and move on, the faster we can kind of get on with things.
I agree. Like the biggest thing, like if the market, when I was leaving Seattle, I saw that the market was starting to shift a little bit. I'm not sure if that's still the case up there where the market is shifting, but that's the thing, is everybody starts to panic and worry. My income, I've been spending and not saving because the market's been so hot. And I know if I put a listing on the market this week, it'll sell next week and I'm good. But then when the market starts to shift, then you start to panic, and then I've seen agents say, man, I'm starting to look for a part-time job. I'm starting to do this. And I'm like, man, what happened to your full-time job of real estate? Like, just shift your mindset. Start picking up some books and start educating yourself. Start watching some of your guys' shows. Like, you guys have some great guests that even make me think, wow, I never thought about that. I never thought about that. Small things that you think would be at the top of our mind in real estate, that just a little bit of an adjustment, changing one thing in your business, something like that, but you have to accept the situation first. And I agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the next step in kind of in the dedicated 8 is to really take responsibility, and that's an interesting thing. So, like, how did you take responsibility? Like, how does that show up in your life when you say take responsibility for something? How do you look at that?
That's a great question. When real estate companies or teams hire me to speak, I usually talk about responsibility and action because, and in that. In those two things really are what has changed my life and changed anything that I'm trying to accomplish or help me achieve the goals, right? Is first you have to take responsibility for whatever it is you're going through. If you're in real estate, you have to take responsibility that you're not getting up at 9 a.m. and doing prospecting from 9 to 12. Maybe you're wondering, man, why don't I have any business right now? Well, you got up at 11, you took a shower at 12, you ate something at 1, and then you're on the phone at 3, and everybody's not answering your phone calls, and you're wondering why.
Right. I can imagine why. So weird.
Right. So you have to be looking at yourself, and you have to take responsibility. And when you're taking responsibility, it helps you clear your mind, clears your heart, is what I like to say. It just, you're like, okay, I put everything out there. There's a story in the book that talks about, I wrote a letter to the victim of my case. And when I wrote that letter, it was me trying to take responsibility for my actions towards him, but it wasn't for him, right? It was, and this might sound selfish, and it kind of is, but it was for me. I had to apologize and get that off my chest. It's not in my power for him to accept my apology and to say, okay, and look, I forgive you or whatever. I don't know how he's going to receive my letter, but what I can do is be genuine, take responsibility for my actions, apologize for it, and get it off of my chest and my heart so that I can move forward in my life, right? So in real estate, you can do the same thing. Take responsibility for your actions. If you have no business, you have to look in the mirror and say, why don't I have any business? What am I not doing? Am I not getting up? Am I not prospecting? Did I not send the mail letters? Does my calendar look shady, meaning nothing? Does my CRM have a good follow-up system? No. If your answer is no to all this stuff, you need to take responsibility and own that you're not doing your part to run your business in a professional, dedicated way. And you have to take responsibility, and then you have to take action, which leads into the next thing, which is action. And you have to do something about it. You have to look at what you're putting out there. And if you're not taking action, how do you expect a return on that, right? So if you're not setting up your calendar, go ahead. Sorry.
No, what I was going to say is the fact that majority of the time, the biggest issue with real estate agents, which obviously, Jeff, is that we like the smell of our own farts. Oh, it smells so good. But in reality, it's just a load of shit. And we need someone like you to come along and basically bitch slap you and be like, look, man, chick, dude, whatever, you're just not doing it right at all. No, you're playing off us. You're not actually being productive. You're busy, but you're not productive. Like you said, you wake up at 11, you eat by 12, shower by 1, on the phones by 3:30, call it a day by 3:45, and wipe your brow, going, holy cow, that was a busy day. And we can tell ourselves lies all day long, but in reality, results will ultimately be the scorekeeper of our life. It doesn't mean if it's just in business; it's in personal lives, professional lives, family lives, our physical bodies, everything. Say, oh, well, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. Can you go once? Well, thinking of it 5 times doesn't really mean you went 5 times. Wanting to make those calls doesn't mean you made those calls. One of my coaches, I talk about this all the time. I just ripped these off from the other day, but I keep these little sticky pads. Super stupid, super simple. But I mark down how many database calls I do and how many send-out cards I send out. I need to do 3 send-out cards and 10 database calls at a minimum every single day. And this silly little orange and bright pink sticky pads keep me accountable. So when it comes to accountability, help me understand what that thing was for you after you got out of your stint, in prison. What was that thing that kept you accountable for moving forward on a daily basis, progressing in a positive way versus regressing and going back to potentially where you were, where you could have been if you took another choice?
Sure. That's a great question. And I'm totally on the fly with this. I think accountability comes down to networking, really. And networking is one of the things in my book. It's one of the steps. It's surrounding yourself with people, because you can't really accomplish your goals all by yourself. Like everything that I've accomplished in my life, there's always been people around me, surrounding me, helping me, showing me something, teaching me something. But I've never necessarily had somebody holding me accountable. I've never been like, oh, here's my goal, hold me accountable. However, I think my own personal drive to want to accomplish the goal, I'm very goal driven, goal oriented. But I know that approach doesn't work for everybody. A lot of people do need an accountability partner. Even right now in my growth here, I feel like I need an accountability partner now as I'm getting a little bit further in my career, trying to figure out what's the next step to do. And I need to be accountable to things that I've never experienced before, like different types of marketing for the book. It's kind of not my thing. It's really real estate's been my thing. I can be accountable to that. So I think the inner drive for me, what kept me accountable, is not wanting to let myself down, not wanting to let other people down, always having that desire to help other people, trying to lead with a teacher's heart. And I felt like if I didn't accomplish my goal, the people that are watching my journey, I would be letting them down. So I think I had this self accountability going on, but I know that for 100% fact that doesn't work for everybody, and some people need an accountability partner. And I think coaching is where that's at. But for me personally, to answer your question, I would say my inner drive was what kept me accountable to not wanting to be poor. Looking back and looking at how I would catch rainwater when I was a kid and snow to take showers, looking at my friends that were living in poverty that made them decide to commit crimes to go to take care of their families. Just thinking about these situations made me say, man, I do not want to have to make those types of choices or decisions in my life. So I need to accomplish these goals that I'm setting for myself, and I need to do them. And I think that's been my accountability.
So here's a question for you. When you've grown the most, when you formulated these 8 mindset principles, I would bet you dollars to donuts that you founded these principles in the hardest of times in your life, not in the easiest of the times in your life, right? Those dark days when you're in prison, those dark days when you were younger, when you're catching rainwater, you're going, fuck this shit. What can I do to change my life, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I like about having you on the show, is the fact that you've got a great story of a complete turnaround. Yes, it's extreme, but here's the cool thing. People can take this and apply it into their life in any way, shape, or form, because it could be like you had recently a personal breakup, which I can empathize with you, because I've gone through one that nearly killed me as well, literally, and it sucks, really sucks, a bag of dicks. But you know what? You can go. I was waiting for you and Matt to shake your heads, and you guys did it simultaneously. That was perfect.
both me and Gene are like, that's what happened.
Pretty normal.
Right?
Bag of dicks.
But what I love about this, Jeff, is the fact that you've come back from so much stuff, and yet you still got a smile on your face. And the cool thing is, dude, the really cool thing is that nothing has got you down. You followed your dreams. You're changing people's lives on a daily basis. You're living where you want to live, not where you thought you were going to live, but even in a better place than you thought you were going to be living in. And you got amazing things going forward with you, and you've reached out to people that are iconic, that have reached back to you and said, dude, you're a cool cat. I like what you're doing. I want to support you. Let's rock and roll. And people can do that, but they've got to understand the principles. We've only gone over, I think, 2 of the principles. Am I correct on this?
3. We talked about action,
3.
acceptance, coping, responsibility, action, and networking. So we've gone over a few of them.
Yeah.
I want to keep going and keep knocking these down. Let's go to number 4 and see what the 4th mindset is.
Goals and actions.
So if we're going to go into them like that, what I would say is, like, a lot of times when I was writing this book and I was talking to my friends, they were like, man, do you feel like you went through this order specifically, exactly in this order to accomplish these things? And for me, the answer is, I feel like, yes, this is the order that it went for me. But when I started doing these interviews with these other people and I was talking to them about these dedicated 8, some of them went through each of these in their own order, in their own way. And so I wouldn't say that this is the Bible for every single step. I would say that you're going to go through these 8 in your own way, in your own order. So to go into goals, for me, I had to go through acceptance, coping, responsibility. I had to go through those stages first. I had to accept my situation. I had to cope with what was going down with me in my life. I had to take responsibility so that now I have a clear, clean conscience of what's going on, what's happening. Now I can set realistic, clear goals. In the beginning, when you're going through to try to set goals for yourself, you might say, man, I want to be a millionaire. Awesome. Yes. Okay. But then you go through acceptance, coping, responsibility. And then you're like, okay, what does it take for me to be a millionaire? What are the specific goals that I need to do to be that millionaire? What job do I need? What business do I need to start? What do I need to do, right? We've been talking on here about kind of like the tough times. I met this guy, William, one time on the airplane going to Indonesia, actually. That guy worked as an engineer in Greece or Italy somewhere. And I said, where do you live now? He says, I live in Texas. And I said, what do you do in Texas? He says, I work for Facebook. And I was like, you owned your own business in this other country and you live in Texas working for Facebook. Like, how'd that happen? And he just told me this amazing story about how he was enjoying life where he was at. He was an engineer before, and he was living a good life. And he started his own company as an engineer, and he was living a good life there. But he just didn't feel fulfilled. And he saw this ad posting for a job with Facebook, and he's like, man, that seems really cool. That would be awesome to do. I'm just going to apply for that job and see if I can get it. He applies for the job, winds up getting the job, and he kind of just, in that plane ride, he was telling me how he set specific goals for himself and to just change his life. And it wasn't that he was in a bad place at all. He just didn't feel fulfilled. Like, he just felt something was missing. And he went online one day and was just kind of just browsing to see what else was out there that he could possibly do with his talents and skills. And he found this job. And now he was flying to Indonesia, working for Facebook, doing something with them, and just a happy guy. And so what I would say is, once you go through those phases of acceptance and coping and taking responsibility, whether you're in a bad place or a good place in your life, whatever it is that's taking you through those, and then you start mapping out your goals, like, okay, what is it going to take for me to do this? And I kind of break this down in the simplest form so people can understand. Think about you waking up and you want to go to the zoo. You wake up, I don't know, for me, going to the zoo is more sporadic and not really planned out. I don't start my week on Sunday and be like, I think on Wednesday I'll go to the zoo. That's just not me. I'm very, very, very spontaneous. But on Wednesday morning, I might wake up and say, man, I want to go to the zoo. So I need to accomplish, what do I need to accomplish in order to be able to do that? I need to make sure there's gas in my bike. I need to make sure that I have some clothes. Here at the zoo, I can feed the monkeys with bananas. So I need to make sure I go to the store and get some bananas for the monkeys. You got to break these down into small goals to accomplish your big goals. So that's what step 5 is for me, is having the realistic goals so that you can accomplish your big goal.
So let me back it up for a hot second here. Matt and I have debated multiple times in regards to this whole idea. By the way, Jeff, just so you know, our friend Neely Freeman noted, and she saw that you're drinking out of a real Coke bottle, and she is very jealous of you, just to let you know. See, Vanna White's the bottle. But I mean, so Matt and I talk about goal setting a lot of the times, and I'm very much, I think, extremely high. I mean, if this is what you can get for $1, I'm like, great, what can I get for $10,000? And Matt's like, no, jackass, let's just go for $1. I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Let's go for 10,000. So the difference in your mindset is, do you go for the practical stuff, or do you also go for the like very ostentatious and huge goals at the exact same time? And how do you, what's the right word for this? How do you keep yourself rock solid on each of those goal sets? So like, 1, wake up, do 10 calls. 1, the second one, number 1 in your marketplace. Very, very different goals. How do you keep yourself on track for each one of those?
That's a great question. And I was reading a book in the research for this book where the guy was talking about goals, and he said, man, if you set too many goals, you start to not accomplish goals.
Right.
So my thing is, you have your top 2 big goals, your top 2. You want to be the number 1 guy in your market center. What are your activities that are going to make you get to that goal? And you just nailed it on the head. You wake up, you set your calls. You got to set your goals for your calls, appointments. You got to know what your numbers are. You have to know what it's going to take you to accomplish being the number 1 person in your market center. Okay, the number 1 person in my market center sold 10 houses this month. How do I sell 11? Well, I know that I need to make 400 phone calls to get 200 appointments to get 100 listings. Whatever it is, you got to know your numbers and know your small goals. So to answer your question is, I do have my 2 big goals, whatever my big goals are. And then as you start accomplishing the small goals that will get you there, that's what it takes. You have to have your small goals in there. So you need both, and you need to be staying dedicated. And that's why I call this the dedicated 8. You need to stay dedicated and consistent with your small goals, because your small goals will lead to your big goal. And it might even take you off track from your big goal. You might get another opportunity somewhere else that you didn't even see coming because you've been so dedicated to your small goals. Someone else might see you and say, man, we like what you're doing. We really want you to come with us. And here's a signing bonus. Here's something awesome. Here's something that you didn't expect because you've been so dedicated to your small goals so that you can reach your big goal.
That's so true. I mean, the old adage is, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. How can you be number 1 agent? 1 day at a time. You know, me doing 10 database calls at a minimum, 280 days out of the 365 days with holidays and, weekends and everything else. That's 2,800 reaches into my database. Doing 3 send-out cards 5 days a week, that's 840 cards a year. Those small incremental things like you're talking about will get you to your master goal. And like you said, that the really cool thing is like anything else, if you start off with a goal, like I want to be blah, 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 right? Well, then yakety smack shows up and it's way cooler than blah, blah, blah. And you go over here and you start chasing yakety smack. Mac, don't give me that fucking weird look, dude. I can see you like you're like trying to process this in your brain. You're like, what is he talking about? But it's the true thing is that
I'm just envisioning people listening that can't see what your hand motions are, going, "What in the world is he talking about?"
As you
But yakety smack. He's talking about yakety smack, man.
And blah blah blah.
Same page.
God, man, blah blah blah. And yakety smack. Get with the program, man.
Get with the program, exactly.
Jeez. But
goal,
the thing is,
goal A and goal B. Okay.
You made Gene so speechless with all this talk with yakety smack, blah blah blah.
Well, Gene's just been a mute all day. Gene, are you gonna pipe in, or are you gonna sit there like a creeper? You're like in your trench coat?
No. Listen, I'm doing. Sometimes I sit back here and I am creeping. Actually, I'm listening and I'm learning, right? And I have a couple. You saw me right, and I got some questions, but there's not really any. There wasn't really any good spot to slide them in. I kind of want to keep the flow. It's going well, so you can end it with me, of course, if you want.
Why don't you just chime in?
Well, as I say, once Gene jumps in, clearly the episode is over.
And I'm still here, man. I don't know why I take this abuse, but I'm still here. Listen, if we're plugging books, can I plug mine right now? I just came up with my idea. It's called I Am All of a Sudden Second Guessing All of My Life Decisions, and I want to see if Jeff will write the foreword for me.
Oh, shit.
Jesus, Belize and all this. This is crazy, man. So, all right, let me ask you one of the questions. What's the 3? This is probably a stupid question. What's the 3 in Reset?
Oh, okay. So in the introduction of the book, I tell a story of the 3 F's. And when I talk around the country, a lot of people leave the conversation really talking about the 3 F's. So I'll tell you what the 3 F's are. And it's a story that comes from prison. I was 14 years old. I get to this prison. I get to go outside for the first time. And it's cold. It's raining. It's Washington State. But I have been locked down for months, and I haven't been able to be outside. So I just am like, man, I'm going outside. I don't care. So I'm outside. It's raining. I'm walking around the track. They call it the track. It's kind of like a high school gym track outside. There's a couple pull-up bars out there, and there's this really big guy doing pull-ups, and there's one other guy that came on the bus with me from the county jail. He's walking around the track, and I see him talking to this guy, and I'm new, and I don't know what's going on, and I don't even know how to take all this in, and I'm just walking around. I just got a 20-year prison sentence, and here's my first day outside, so I'm just trying to take it in. And I walk by this pull-up bar, and this big guy looks over at me. He's like, hey, come here. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, man, here we go. Here's how it starts. So, so I walk over there and he's like, "What's your name?" And I tell him my name is Jeff, and I ask him what his name is, and he says, "My name's Big Tom." And I was like, I wonder how that came about. This guy's like 300 pounds doing pull-ups. It's all coming together. So he just looks straight at me and he's like, "Got any questions?" I'm like, yeah, I got a lot of questions, man. And he's like, "What are they?" I'm like, "Man, do people fight here?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, the main question everybody asks about people that go to prison. I'm just like, "Man, do people get raped here?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "People get killed here?" He's like, "Listen, you just need to follow the 3 F's. I'm like, "The 3 F's? What the fuck is the 3 F's? And he's like, "You need to figure out if you're going to fight, fuck, or hit the fence when shit goes down in your life here in prison." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "If somebody punks you today, are you going to fight them? Are you going to let them take advantage of you, rape you, take your stuff? Or are you going to try to run, try to escape prison and get shot by the guards if you're trying to escape? Those are your options here in prison. So what are you going to do? Are you going to fight, fuck, or hit the fence?" And those 3 principles pretty much saved my life in prison. And so as I was going through this book and making doing this journey, I replaced the E with 3, because no matter where you are or who you are, you're going to be confronted with the 3 F's whenever you enter into a new situation like a job or a relationship. Are you going to fight for what you want? Are you going to let someone else take advantage of you, use you, undermine you, or take credit for your work at your job? Are you going to fight for like your life? You want a better life. You want to do something different in your life. Are you just going to let people just keep taking from you, or are you going to do something about it? Or are you simply going to give up? Are you going to run away? Are you going to try to attempt to escape from your responsibility to yourself? So what I did was I used the 3 as a dedication to my friend Big Tom. We're good friends now, and it's a symbol to everybody else who read the book that you can take control of your life by accomplishing your goals and setting high goals and staying dedicated to those goals and staying dedicated to yourself. And so that's what the 3 represents.
You know, there was a great thing that I heard a while ago, and I always reference back to this, and it's pretty much the same thing, but it's instead of three words, it's 1 word, and it's standards. You know, it's your standards in life, right? What are you going to allow to be your reality? And, you know, a lot of people, they, like when I had this realization, kind of like when you were talking to Big Tom for the first time, your first day in the yard, going, shit, man, this just got fucking real. And I got a big dude here. I got 20 years inside. I got to get my head screwed on, right? And I hope that people, even if you're not doing a 20-year stint in prison, maybe you're doing a 20-year stint in a fucked up relationship or a partnership or, you know, or a family, you know, life or something. You're like, dude, this is my reality right now. What are your standards going to be? You can always raise your standards. Even in prison, you can raise your standards. You can allow someone to take advantage of you, or you can stand your ground. And people, you guys can do this in real estate. You can do this in life. You can do this anywhere you are right now. But you can change it like that. But you got to make your mindset up. And so, Jeff, you that probably blew your mind. We were sitting looking at this 300-pound fool doing pull-ups, and you're just like, this guy's, you know, preaching the word to me right now.
Yes. I've seen him several times. He knows he's taken a picture with my book. If you go to Reset Connect on Facebook, you can see a picture of Big Tom. He's there. But, you know, he did change my world, and with those 3 F's, and they've applied to my whole life. But, you know, it's a choice. There's so many people that say to me, "Man, you went to Belize. That's crazy. I wish I could do that." The term that I hear all the time is, "I wish I could do that." And the reality is, you can. Like, every single person can change your life and your reality right now. Oh, my family lives here. My job is here. My dog is here. Like, you know, there's all these things that we convince ourselves because we're comfortable that we don't have the power to change it, because we like the consistency and the security of what we currently have, even if we have to go through a tough time to keep it. You know?
And
That's true.
the funny thing is like you said, it literally can change anything you want in your life, but you have to take action to do it. And so many of us, like you said, we get stuck on the mire of mediocrity. We're just so comfortable being the version that we always are. We don't ever step out to be the version that we could be. This last year I've taken several big steps, and the last couple of years I've done things I never thought I would ever do. And it's because, and Jeff, help me confirm this with me if you wouldn't mind. Once you take those steps and you're something different, a different version of who you are, you look back at that shell of what you used to be and you're like, man, I'm sure glad I'm not that person anymore, because, God, look at this new person. It's so cool. Then it encourages you to take that next big step, and the next big step, and the next big step, and then you get on a roll and you just don't stop. And all of a sudden you become addicted to this new change, this new person that you are, and you're like a bigger, stronger, faster, smarter version of who you are now versus who you could be in the future. And you're like, man, if I can do this, what can I do in the next 12 months, 18, 34, 24, 36 months, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
That's
shit, man.
exactly right.
You live in freaking Belize, bro. I mean, did you think you were going to be there 5 months ago? No. But here you are. So where are you going to be in the next 12 months?
I'm going to be in Belize. But, to your point, I have a good friend in the States. She became a real estate agent. She was on a real estate team, and she wasn't getting the results that she wanted. And then she got off the team, and she was venting to me, and I just told her, I said, your mindset's in the wrong place. You probably could have had amazing results on that real estate team, but you need to take action in your own life. And you just quit the team, and now you're on your own, so you don't even have the support of the team. You're on your own. So who's going to hold you accountable, and what are you going to do right now? And after that conversation, I was watching her growth, and I saw her do posts for going to the mall, and she just set a goal to talk to 100 people. She joined Bold so that to kind of kick her in the butt a little bit. She didn't know what she was going to expect from Bold. Bold is the Keller Williams training, of course, that a lot of agents know about. And if you don't know about it, you can look it up or whatever. But I'm sure you guys can talk about it. But she just started taking action. She started getting outside her comfort zone. And then once she started getting deals from it, she's like, wow, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so hard. What's the next thing? What's something else I can do? What's the next thing I can do? Just like you said, once you go through that change and your mind is like, wow, that was actually okay. That didn't kill me. I can do something else. What can I do? What's the next thing? You're exactly right. And I see it over and over again with the agents who are like, okay, I listened to this. I went outside my comfort zone, and I got 2 deals. Wow, how can I get 2 more? What's the next thing I can do outside of my comfort zone? So it's really
Success
about the mindset
success.
change and taking action.
Exactly.
The funny thing is that Miss Neely Freeman, one of my dear good friends, one of our very first listeners of the show, when she started listening to the show, she was a part-time nurse, part-time real estate agent. So I had to verbally smack her upside the head and, got her in, gave her the kick out of the nest that she needed to, out of doing the nursing, and she went full-time real estate. Dude, the first month she was the number one real estate agent in her office. She got 6 listings her first month. It just took that action to move forward. It's incredible, and it's also all very, very. It's beautiful and refreshing to watch people spread their wings and go do something for the first time. I mean, Matt got his 3 obese wood dancing insulin sucking little troll babies on a treadmill for the first time last week. I mean, you should see the progress they're making.
That's right. Gotta lose that winter fat. All right. So Jeff, speaking of the book, where can we get the book?
The easiest place to get the book is reset.com, RES3T.com. It's on Amazon. It is on Amazon. If you go to reset.com and click the link, it takes you right to the Amazon page. And it's really the fastest way to go get it is through the website there. And I'm actually coming. I'm in some talks this week. I'll share it with you guys here for the first time. Is doing a reset retreat here in Belize for like 10 days, trying to bring some speakers out here and trying to help people change their mindsets, kind of have like a fun experience of Belize, go take a look at the caves and the Mayan ruins and chill a little bit and have some great speakers come out and enjoy the time here. So we haven't figured out all the pricing yet, but we're going to have that on the website too if people are interested in doing something like that.
That's awesome.
Well, it's a great idea. Yeah, I was going to say, if you live in a place like that, you are morally obligated to invite people to go.
And Matt and I are so happy to be your headline speakers. I mean, this is just it's a blessing come true, you know. But no, it's
All right,
in all
then,
seriousness, that's really cool, man. And I
yeah,
wish you the
it's really
best
cool.
of luck with that. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna jump at that opportunity. One, to go see a beautiful country. Two, go get taught by someone like you, and get their head screwed back on, along with the rest of the speakers that you're gonna bring down there, man. So whatever we can do to help you, just count us in. We'll help you out in any way we can.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then Gene, you were
silent
suspiciously
one.
quiet. I know you were hanging back and letting the flow go, but are you sure you don't have anything for us today? What's going on in your mind lately?
Are you
like,
just
I feel like you're
constipated?
disturbingly quiet.
Yeah, constipated.
No.
Just
It's just the Christmas hangover, I think.
It's
No,
it's just because your Eagles aren't going to the playoffs. It's that's all it
we
is.
don't know this yet. I get another week of survival.
Got another
Don't
week.
start with me
I
yet
don't
because
know.
next week will
I
be
don't
ugly. Next week will be ugly. Well, listen.
Lord.
I wanted to ask him one more question. I think it'll be a quick one.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Did you get a response from your letter, from your apology letter?
Yeah, it's interesting actually. The answer is yes. Not right away though. What happened was, a couple years ago, a Canadian radio show did a bibliography on me. It's called Cited, Cited. They did a podcast, and they did a bibliography of my life up to everything. You know, there is this from growing up poor to going through prison to getting out, all that stuff, and they did this big journey. And while we were recording the episodes or the episode, they called me one night and said, "Hey, are you sitting down?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sitting." Or no, they called me and they said, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I said, "I'm just working at the moment." And they're like, "Hey, we got a question for you." And I said, "Yeah, what's up?" They're like, if we wound up getting in touch with David is the guy that I committed the crime against. If we got in touch with David, would that be okay with you to kind of get his version of the crime?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, no problem." And then they said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "No, should I be?" And they're just like, "Oh, yeah, you know, we kind of just want to talk to you." And I was like, "All right." And so I sat down and they said, "So we've actually been talking to him for the last couple of weeks."
Oh, wow.
And they said, "You know, we really have put together some stuff and he has some questions for you and we want to do this back and forth." And I said, "Sure, no problem." So there's this 45-minute recording and I can send you the link if you want it.
Yes.
That they did. And I'll just give it away here, but it really came down to, does he believe the situation and is there forgiveness? And in his words, from the way that it was done, we basically had this conversation back and forth that we never really had, and we never have had, even in the whole interview. Like, I've never talked to him, but they made it seem like through the interview like that to get his opinion. And at first he didn't believe the letter, but that recording helped him believe the letter and accept I don't know if he accepted the apology, but I believe there was forgiveness, I think is what.
Wow. That's crazy.
How it ended.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
So
is
I'll send you
incredible.
the link for sure.
Yeah. Put the link in. Definitely put the link in one of these feeds or something, or send it out, because I'm sure I wouldn't be the only one that wants to listen to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, go to Greg McDaniel's Facebook profile, drop it in the comments. Everybody who's watching live or that finds it later can get that link, and then we'll throw it in the show notes as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
Awesome.
So real quick on the way out, I'll drop one on you, just because it's the end of the year. We're talking goal planning. You got to get online and start to find, your smart paperwork. I like to write some of my stuff down. Something I had success with last year was called Passion Planner. PassionPlanner.com. It's just an idea. Go look at it. You might not like the way it's laid out. You can do a search on setting my goals for 2019. There's probably 55 different books. But I used Passion Planner the first half of last year, and I sent it to some clients who loved it as well. And so that's just something, if you need a little bit of a little kick in the ass or some help with setting your goals for 2019 or finishing and honing your goals for 2019, it's a cool little thing. So, Eric, I had something for you.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, and then how can people connect with you?
GeneVolpe.com, man. Hit the website. There's a little chat box that pops up. Send me a message. Any Facebook Gene Volpe, Instagram the Gene Volpe, YouTube Gene Volpe. Like, it's pretty easy to find. So.
Very cool. All right. And then, Greg, what's the best way to reach out and connect with you?
Well, if you just trail off with that Gene. This Gene Volpe, that Gene Volpe, this Gene Volpe. I don't know, man. Just look for Gene Volpe.
Google me.
Google Just let me sleep. Just let me sleep.
Dude, we got to get the Evil Bald Ninja URL for you, so people just go Evil Bald Ninja and it redirects back to Gene Volpe.
Okay, I'll buy it this week.
Good. That's a good idea.
Guys, go to bookmcdaniel.com. Again, go to bookmcdaniel.com. Go there. What we'll be able to do is talk about EXP, talk about what the team Matt and I are building. If you guys want to have the ability for multiple streams of income, again, take 30 minutes of your time. I do want to talk to you. It will be a lot of fun. So go to bookmcdaniel.com. You can get me there. Matt, how can people rate, review us, and give us lots and lots of oodles of love?
Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or iTunes. Give us a review. If you love the guest, make sure to give them a shout out. So give Jeff a shout out. Thank him for his time, his contribution in your review. That is it. We are out. It is one of the last episodes of the year, if not the last episode of the year. So go in peace, my children, as Greg would say.
Go with God, my beloved child.
Exactly. Go with God. Watch out for the fat little ones. Don't get run over if you're on the sidewalk. Make sure you don't step too close to them. You may fall into some sort of
crevasse.
I can make no guarantees. Don't walk too closely to the children.
2019, Matt's going to put his kids on diets. We can only pray. Guys, Jeff, thank you for coming on again, man. Legendary conversation as usual. The Evil Bald Ninja, good to see you as well, my friend. You are a valuable asset to this podcast, and you better be here next year. Otherwise, I will hunt your bald ass down. For the rest of you guys, thank you for watching, listening, and supporting us. If this is something you can share to someone else, please do. We love you with all of our hearts. Make 2019 as good or greater than 2018 was. And if we can do anything to help you, know that I am here. Matt will begrudgingly come alongside and do something that his little cold heart will allow him to do. But in all joking aside, we do love you guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, peace out, ninjas. We're gone. We'll see you in 19. Bye-bye.